and welcome to tutorial number 2, where we're going to look at some blending. As you can see, I've already started doing some very light shading in some areas of the colouring page that we're going to be doing today. As you can also see, I've ignored the lines in some places and just shaded over the whole thing. Because it's very light shading, what we can do is go in and add more detail with blending. So we're going to look at colouring with blending and adding detail with blending today. So blending means we can mix the colours together. So if we want a reddish brown, we can mix carmine and Havana brown quite nicely together. This is fine. If we want a slightly yellowy brown, again, we can mix Naples yellow and Havana brown. We can mix carmine and magenta. We can literally, there are endless combinations of these colours to make your pages unique. Even if you copied exactly what I was doing today, your page would still be 100% you. Okay, so the important thing to remember when blending colours is to start with the lighter colour. Obviously, I have not done this with the brown. But what I've done instead is start with a very, very gentle pressure. So it's a very pale version of the brown, rather than being a light colour, if that makes sense. If we press really hard with them, we're not going to be able to blend over them. I'll show you on a spare piece of paper what that looks like in a moment. So anyway, let's crack on. The first thing I am going to do is I'm going to add some detail to these berries. I'm going to use, so I've done the very faint colouring in carmine, and I'm going to use magenta to just give them a little bit of depth. So I'm just colouring around one side to make it look like a shadow. Again, I'm still not pressing very hard because I want this to be quite subtle. And gentle pressure definitely makes for more subtle colour changes. As you can see, you can't really see where the magenta ends and the carmine begins. It's blending beautifully, which is a bonus of these pencils, that they are super soft. They blend so nicely. There we go. You can see when I'm adding a shadow, I am just making sure it's on the same side of all of them, so that it looks like the light is all coming from one direction. Just makes it look more cohesive than if we have shadows left, right and centre. So the light's shining from this way, so the shadows are all on this side of these berries. I think I might have to go back in with a bit of carmine and make these a bit redder because they're going a bit purple now, but that's okay. Because we're doing it lightly, we can build up layers and layers until we get the colour we want. Hey. So right, the next bit I'm going to play with is this acorn here. So as you can see, I have coloured across the whole acorn, regardless, apart from its stalk. Let's fill that in. Regardless of pattern or texture on it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in with a couple of different colours and fill in, to blend in with the Havana brown. I'm going to blend some Naples yellow in with it. I'm just going to colour over, but instead of colouring part of it, I'm going to colour each little triangle in a pattern. So we end up with the brown being the overall feeling, but we've got that yellow shade just popping through, making it look nice and bright and emphasising that acorn cup texture. Which is spikier than you'd think. There we go. Right. Then the next thing I'm going to do, because I feel like I've lost the brown a little bit there, so I'm going to go back in and I'm going to add another layer of brown over my brown triangles. But I'm going to press a little bit harder this time, which I can do. I'm essentially blending brown with brown to make a more vivid brown. Random but true. There we go. Nearly done. Oh, missed one. And then we've got our fabulous little twiddly patterns on the front. And I think we need a bit of deep yellow for them. Let's see. I think I'm going to just do some deep yellow down the sides of each one. Again, I'm just allowing it to just be very gentle and blend in with the brown. I think this might need a bit more brown as well. I think I was too soft with the brown before, but having said that, you can always add more. You can't really take it away once it's there, so being too soft with it is a pretty good habit to develop. Add a little bit more brown, just blend that in with the yellow. As you can see, I'm just gently smudging it together almost. There we go. Beautiful. And again, these pencils just blend so beautifully. I need to stop going on about it. I'm sure you're all sick of hearing me say that. Right, and I'm going to use a bit of my carmine for this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a little tint of carmine around the edges. There we go. So that's the carmine over the Havana brown. I might just leave that pale brown in the middle, actually. I quite like that. Brilliant. So there we've got two different ways of blending colours so far. I'm going to do some orange leaves. Right, word of advice, best tip ever, instead of doing this or trying to do this at weird angles to colour on the other side of the page or at the top of the page or at an awkward bit, turn the page round instead of your hand, and then your hand can be at a comfortable angle all the time. The page does not care if it's upside down. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to add just a little bit shading around there, and a little bit around there. You can see it's just blending with the orange. I'm just shading along the lines of the colouring page. There we go. We'll go around those berries as well. Fab. And I'm going to do the next one with magenta, because, you know, we all like a bit of variety. I'm going to do exactly the same thing and just see how different it starts to look. Along the lines of the page. There we go. Brilliant. I actually think I might just do the other half of this magenta as well to tie in with it. I'm going to do my permanent orange over the top of that magenta, which won't work as well. It won't give the same feel, but it'll be a nice contrast. Having to work a little bit harder to get the orange visible. I'm just going to lift that up nearer the camera so you can see what I mean. So we've got, going to be in focus. So one side we've got orange with magenta over the top, and the other side we've got magenta with orange over the top. As you can see, this side here with the orange first and then the magenta is much more successful for blending than the magenta with the orange. Much more successful. So starting with a lighter colour does tend to work better. I just broke the rules with the brown. Right, let's see. Another thing we can do with our blending is we can take empty spaces like this apple here, and we can start to add our own patterns into it. So all I'm going to do, because this is very lightly coloured with our Naples yellow, I can then take the hard tip of my Havana brown and just start to draw some spirals in it. Obviously, you are not obliged to do anything like this. You do you completely. Like I said in the last tutorial, there are no rules. I am not making rules. It's your colouring page. You can do it however you like. But please feel free, if you do something you really like, feel free to share it on the group, because we love to see it. Or even if you do something and it didn't quite work and you just want to go, we're wrong. What went wrong? Please help. Please share that too, because that's what we're here for. We're a nice supportive group. We don't necessarily have all the answers, but we can try. So there we go. So we've added an extra level of pattern to an already really quite pattern heavy page. Okay. Right, what was I going to say next? I can't remember. That's nice. I know what I was going to do. I was going to show you why we can't blend when we've already pressed really hard on it. Okay. Let me see. I'm going to do it on a spare piece of paper. Spare piece of paper. Okay, so even if I start with my lightest colour, my Naples yellow, and I press really hard, okay? Pressed really hard on that. That is not light colouring or gentle pressure at all in any way, shape or form. Right, and then I want to blend some carmine into it. Sort of works, but also sort of slides off the surface a bit. You can see it doesn't really draw on it properly at all because there's just too much of a waxy build-up on the surface. You get almost like a wax resist type thing happening, and you can sort of wipe it off quite easily with your fingers and you're back to yellow again. So that's not ideal, whereas the blending I was just showing you on the page, we have very light Naples yellow, gentle pressure, side of the graphite, and then we do some carmine over this. You can see it starts to blend much more nicely. And you get a real sense of a different colour appearing in the middle. And it's not smudging off. at all. It's definitely very much there. Let me just move that nearer the camera for you so you can see the difference. That is the difference between blending with a hard pressure on your light colour and blending with a gentle pressure on your light colour. Million miles apart. Okay, so that is why we've been using gentle pressure for this one. I promise I will do another colouring page where I use gentle and hard pressure. And I'm planning on probably doing one where I just use hard pressure, although I will need to dig out my nice pencil sharpener before then, because they will all need sharpened a million times during that one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this tutorial here. I'm going to carry on colouring this, and I will post it in the group when it's finished, and I will see you all soon. Bye!